Okay. Let's see if we actually go live this time. Are we live? Can I hear myself? Sounds like it. Are we live? Can I hear myself? Let me play some audio.
USC
like
section
so I can get a feeling for it. So this is
me
me talking with the audio running. I want to make sure everyone can hear both while I'm working. So I can get a feeling for it. So this is me talking with the that sounds good. I want to make sure everyone can hear both while I'm okay. I will momentarily start recording. Well, let me turn that off before it gets too annoying. Okay. That is now off. And I need to pull up, YouTube monitoring again. There we go. It looks good. Seems good. Let me see how the actual stream looks. It looks good enough, and things don't look too cut off. So I think we are ready to go. In fact, I need to make sure I actually look at the camera when I'm kind of addressing the fictitious audience. It's been a while since I've streamed, hasn't it? It's been like genuinely a long time. Oh, well, let's see how well I adjust to getting back into the flow of this, because it's been a while. Okay, looks like I am. Uh-oh. Let's see what OBS is doing right now. OBS just crashed. I love that. I didn't even get like 10 seconds in. All right. Let me make sure the stream is being saved to the correct place. I think it should be getting saved to the right place. All right, I'm gonna start recording. I know literally no one is here, so I'll have to explain what I'm doing a few times, aside from in the description. All right. Let me try and remember how I can open this ridiculous stream. Okay, so hopefully I don't flood this too hard. I'm totally gonna turn down Minecraft. It's a little loud for me already. There we go. Wow, I really have to turn it down a lot. I do have my headphones turned up a lot though, so that makes sense. Wow, it's really loud. I might genuinely just change Minecraft for me. Because it's super loud with how I'm hearing it. Okay, well, reset this and then we'll get going again. I wonder if I can, in YouTube Studio, I wonder if I can like cut to the very beginning of the stream after the stream is over. I don't think I've really ever tried that. Like cutting a live stream. I don't even think that really makes much sense. Like cutting a live stream just kind of seems not appropriate. All right, do this. All right, now you have Minecraft back again. Cool. Skibidi world. New world, can I beat Minecraft? Wow. Ooh, that's probably our old save from the last big stream. That's a lot to think about. Okay, it looks like all my levels are good. You probably won't be able to hear Minecraft much, especially once I start reading. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the stream and properly do like a YouTube introduction. So hello and welcome back to the Quiet Part YouTube channel. I am once again engaging in a fun learning challenge exploration idea in this live stream today, which will be edited for you wonderful people on the main channel later. But for those of you here for the live stream live, first up, shout out. Thanks for being here. Everyone else, be sure to get subscribed. Be sure to like the video, share it around. Here's the idea for the video today. You can read the description of the video. It'll be the same between the stream and the video itself. The goal of today's video is to learn about a United States Supreme Court case ruling by reading the official Supreme Court opinion document, which is a document that the SCOTUS puts out when it does a ruling, explaining their reasoning, why they ruled the way they did, and they act like just judicial essays for the Supreme Court justices to explain their positions and why they ruled the way that they did. The case we are looking at today, which you can actually already see on the stream down there on the bottom left of your screen, is called Castle Rock versus Gonzales, which is a 2005 Supreme Court ruling that I learned about while talking about my opinions on policing in the United States. So I am pre-existingly known to be an ACAB anti-cop person. Policing is in America is an affront to humanity. It's inhuman. It's one big civil rights violation. But the Supreme Court doesn't feel that way, actually. So I'm anti-police. It's right there in the description of my channel. I am egalitarian, I am environmentalist, and I am punk. If you are pro-cop and punk, you are not punk. I don't know how to fix that for you if that's your contradiction that you enjoy. I'm not pro-police, and I've previously done research and put together works on this channel as videos communicating my disdain for policing in America based on my own evidence, not just taking the concept of ACAB and running with it without researching. I've done research already where I watched thousands of hours of body cam footage, and it is my disposition to believe that the police are not your friends. But I was talking online about some of these positions, and at some point, someone mentioned to me, oh, that Supreme Court case, cops don't have a duty to serve and protect. And like, I've heard the phrase serve and protect many times. That's like the oath of policing in America. And someone was just like, no, the Supreme Court ruled that constitutionally police officers do not have a duty to actually protect your well-being ever. They don't have a responsibility to serve and protect people constitutionally. And of course, I have done live streams of myself reading Supreme Court cases before. I did Tennessee versus Scarametti. I read the anti-trans rights one. I read Citizens United versus FEC, which was like 120, maybe like 160 page long Supreme Court opinion. But the good and interesting thing about the goal for today's video is that the Supreme Court opinion document, which I have now shown here, is only 20 pages for this 2005 ruling. So what we're going to do is we're going to treat this like I am a student trying to learn this for the first time, because I am. I've just barely read up on the overall summary of what this case is about. I don't know the details. So here's what I've done. I start exactly the way I would expect a student to, which is looking up generic definitions and coverage of the topic, and we're going to be starting by reading the complete Wikipedia page for Castle Rock versus Gonzales. But the important thing is we are not ending on Wikipedia. We're using it as a place to start, to make connections and develop background context as we try to understand this case in totality. Now, I've already gone through the Wikipedia page. I just haven't read it word for word. And what I've learned is that, like with many Supreme Court cases, there's a lot of context that we need to gather by looking at other cases and existing pieces of legislation. Those include something called the Ku Klux Klan Act or the Enforcement Act of 1871. Apparently that'll be relevant. Apparently I need to know this pre-existing court precedent in a ruling on a case called DeShaney versus Winnebago County. Once we're done with Wikipedia pages, we're going to step it up to a better source using case briefs, which is a resource that law students use to understand court cases quickly. We're going to be looking both at Castle Rock and its preceding court case, which is again DeShaney versus Winnebago County. Then we will end the stream by reading the actual Supreme Court document itself, which would be the highest level of reading we'll do that will require all of this context to build up to. While I do all of this, I will be speedrunning Minecraft. But the difference between this version of a speedrun and previous ones I've done is that I get to cancel the world I'm in and make a new one. I get to keep generating worlds, random seeds, until I have one that I want to try to do a run on. Because there's not as much documentation here as a 1,000-page document. It took me 24 hours to beat Minecraft last, and that's because I chose one world and stuck with it. So we will be generating new worlds, and I will just be constantly kind of checking on the documents and checking on my Minecraft world, and we're going to be learning together throughout this process. That is the goal. More than anything, the goal is to learn something and inform our opinions better, inform my opinion better. With that, let's go ahead and generate our first run. Let's just name this world 1. We're going to create a new world. Then we're going to start the reading of it on the first Wikipedia page. Then we're going to get full context for the whatever this is, the Enforcement Act of 1871. It looks like it's a lot longer than this one. That's going to take a while. I might just read half of that page and then get on to DeShaney versus whatever. We'll see. It'll be flexible the whole time. What is this? New world. What just happened? I thought I was already generating a world. Create new world. Okay, okay. We're just gonna call this 1-1. Difficulty normal, completely normal, uninteresting gameplay. Let's go ahead and start. The clock starts now. With this being Wikipedia and myself being an educator, let me reinforce very aggressively that Wikipedia is not a full source. You have to be critical. You have to question, especially when there are opinionated things. You have to double check the sources. All of that I will be doing as I finish each of the Wikipedia pages in front of me. Let's go ahead and get started. You will be able to hear in the background. I will, of course, be using Microsoft Edge's read aloud feature, so I can listen to this while playing.
In which the court ruled 7-2 that
Okay. So I will be digesting and reiterating what I learned and what I already know. The main court case, from what I gather right now, is that a woman with an abusive husband got a restraining order. She told her local police department many times, hey, this man's actively been trying to kill me. You need to enforce the restraining order and protect my well-being from this guy. And they failed to do that, and it escalated into a Supreme Court case where the Supreme Court ruled that the police have no duty to protect people's safety in the United States. So that sounds fucked up. Per usual, I'm reading fucked up shit.
Case in which the court ruled.
Oh, you won't just start it at the correct place? Castle Rock versus Gonzales. 545 U.S. 748 2005 is a United States Supreme Court case. Let's start reading aloud.
Case in which the court ruled.
Oh, I'll read it super slow too.
That a town and its police
7-2?
Department could not. This article includes a list of general references.
Start here.
Castle Rock versus
Cool.
Gonzales. 545 U.S.
All right, now we're playing. Let's do it. We got sheep already. That's good.
2005 is a United States Supreme Court case in which the court ruled 7-2 that a town and its police department could not be sued under 42 U.S.C. Section 1983
57
for refusing
FPS.
to
Sure,
enforce
sounds
a
good.
restraining order, even though the refusal led to the murders of a woman's 3 children by her estranged husband.
They could not be sued for refusing to enforce a restraining order, even though the refusal led to the murder of her children.
Local government officials have no affirmative duty to protect the public from harm it did not create. A similar ruling was made in DeShaney v. Winnebago County,
The
which
pre-existing court
Child
case.
Protective Services called the Department of Social Services in the case, failing to protect a child from a violent parent. 3. The decision has since become infamous and condemned by several human rights groups and is frequently cited among the worst Supreme Court decisions in modern history.
So it's that she had a restraining order. That husband ended up killing her kids, and they sued that the police failed them.
Background. Edit. The battered
It's crazy to see how like obvious how obviously bad this ruling is, because like Wikipedia is not unbiased, but like damn that they just say it.
It was considered radical.
Okay, yeah, that was fucked up.
Male privilege and reject the violence perpetrated
So
against the
this has
family
cultural
and
ties
women's
to
agency by male relatives.
you know, the wave of feminism that resisted the fact that women were being abused terribly between like the 50s and the 90s. They still are to this day.
Arrest men when women accuse them.
Okay.
Antonin Scalia, writing for the majority, recognized the deeply rooted nature of law enforcement discretion.
Okay, I've already got a bed. That's
in the
huge.
Castle Rock decision.
What a freaking outcome, man. Man, I'm killing all these. This is huge.
Writes that Justice Scalia's analysis
I guess what I really should do is
reality
first
of
go look
police
for a
conduct in
village.
cases like Castle Rock. She says police refusal to arrest men accused of violence against women is
a
a
result
result
of
of policies
Institutional
and
law
the
enforcement.
institutional culture of the law enforcement community. 8. Procedural history. Edit. During divorce
I need to increase my view distance like
Jessica
crazy.
Lenahan
It's already
Gonzales,
maxed.
a resident of Castle Rock, Colorado, obtained a permanent restraining order against her ex-husband Simon.
So they were divorcing, got a restraining order. He was already violent. I consider stalking a kind of violence.
91 meters
It's a threat of
from her and her
violence.
4 children, son Jesse, who is not Simon's
biological
biological
child, and
child,
their daughters.
and daughters Rebecca, Catherine, and Leslie, except during specified visitation time.
This is classic stuff. You got a crazy
On
ex-husband
June 22nd, at
who may
approximately
or may not have a history of
5:15
violence.
p.m., Simon kidnapped the
The
three
three
girls from
on
their
June
home
22nd
in violation of the order.
violated the order.
9. Jessica
Called the police
at approximately 7:30
30 p.m.
8:30
Again,
p.m.,
called him once,
and
called him
10:10
again,
p.m.
called him a
on
third
June
time,
22nd, and 12:15
and now it's
a.m.
midnight,
on June 23rd,
and
visited
she's
the
done
police
everything.
station in person at 12:40 a.m. on June 23rd.
It's now the next day, technically.
Prior to the second call, Simon had called Jessica and stated that he had the daughters with him at an
So this is in
amusement
Castle
park
Rock.
in
I live in
Denver,
Denver, Colorado, so this is a little relevant in that way.
The police did nothing for 8 hours. 8. At approximately 3:20
What?
a.m.
You're calling
on
about a
June
kidnapping and you
23rd,
didn't do anything for
Simon
hours?
appeared at the Castle Rock
Wait, did that say
police
8 hours?
station and was killed in a shootout with the officers.
What?
A search of his vehicle revealed the dead bodies of the three daughters.
Jesus
who were
Christ. The police did nothing for 8 hours. At 3:20 a.m., it's now the following morning. This mother has been fighting for 8 hours to get anyone to respond, even though Castle Rock, it's not like they don't have policing. They have a big police force. Oh my God, this is such a Castle Rock behavior too. This tracks so well with what I know about that town. Simon appeared at Castle Rock Police Station, so he wanted death by cop probably. Was killed in a shootout with officers. The search of his vehicle found the dead bodies of her three daughters, who determined to have been shot and killed sometime prior to arrival at the station. Jesus Christ. I'm playing Minecraft and joking about it, but this is like a classically horrible case of like crime. This is just a really bad criminal case. 8 hours. He had the kids for hours. The fact that they couldn't get a cop in like 30 minutes is psychotic. This is 2005, but 8 hours of calling, knowing that your psychotic husband kidnapped your children, violated the restraining order, and the police did nothing for 8 hours. So now I get to learn what are the grounds that this person sued on. What is the legal strategy for suing against the police? And did this probably started with a county level suit, because I feel like it's so it's a town or county level lawsuit that probably got escalated to a federal court and then got purview for the Supreme Court after. 8 hours. If it had been a stranger that kidnapped her kids, I wonder if maybe they would have responded differently, or if this were flipped, or if a man had called. Jesus.
Determined to have been shot and killed sometime prior to arrival at the police station.
Jesus Christ.
Gonzales filed suit in the United
States District Court for
state level
suit
Colorado,
against a city.
It's the
police department,
and the three individual police officers with whom she had spoken under 42 U.S.C. Section 1983.
So what is 42 U.S.C.? This is the Enforcement Act, which I will have to read after this to really understand. She sued that she had spoken with them under, I don't know, claiming she was deprived of her right to enforcement. Wow. Without due process. No right to enforcement.
1983-10, claiming she was deprived of her right to enforcement of the order without due process of law. This substantive due process claim was dismissed, but the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals reversed in part, finding that the mandatory arrest provisions created a property interest in enforcement.
Property interest.
8. An en banc rehearing reached the same conclusion. 11. The court also affirmed the finding
Oh
that the
my
three
God,
individual
qualified
officers
immunity
had
just came up.
qualified immunity.
Okay, so let me follow the timeline of events. This substantive due process is a principle in the United States that allows courts to establish and protect substantive laws and certain fundamental rights from government interference, even if they are enumerated elsewhere in the U.S. Constitution. She was deprived of her right to enforcement of the order. Her right of the court order being enforced, the restraining order. She was deprived of it being enforced without due process. They just decided, no, fuck you, we're not enforcing this. This claim was dismissed. What? But the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals reversed the dismissal, in part finding that the mandatory arrest provisions create a property interest in enforcement. What does that mean? Again, this is going to be a lot of learning, a lot of like slow understanding. Property interest in enforcement. What? Because her children are property? That very well could be the law in the U.S. I don't know. What is NBank? The court affirmed that the 3 cops had qualified immunity and could not be sued. Jesus Christ. All right, read aloud. Just really focus on speedrunning, but I'm going to learn. That's what's more important.
Police department and the 3 individual police officers with whom she had spoken under 42 U.S.C. Section 1983,
Nope, New World.
claiming she was deprived of her right to enforcement of the order without due process of law. This substantive due process claim was dismissed, but the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals reversed in part, finding that the mandatory arrest provisions created a property.
How long has Minecraft had this? I'm gonna have to figure out what property interest is as I keep learning over time, but
same conclusion. 11.
Very interesting.
The court also affirmed the finding that the 3 individual officers had qualified immunity and as such could not be sued.
Qualified immunity. I should research on qualified immunity and its orange one day. Okay, so this is going to be summarizing the opinion of the court, but I will read the full thing.
The Supreme Court reversed the 10th Circuit's decision, reinstating the district court's order of dismissal.
So it was dismissed, undismissed, then redismissed.
Justice Antonin Scalia held that enforcement of the restraining order was not mandatory under Colorado law, were a mandate for enforcement to exist.
So
it
what?
would not create an individual right to enforcement that could be considered a protected entitlement under the precedent of Board of Regents of State Colleges versus Roth. And even if there were a protected individual entitlement to
I'll have to read that one as well.
Restraining order, such entitlement would have no monetary value and hence would not count as property for the due process clause.
Oh, and I should just go get dirt.
Justice David Souter wrote a concurring opinion, using the reasoning that enforcement of a restraining order is a process, not the interest protected by the process, and that there is not due process protection for processes.
What? So it's just gonna. This isn't new to me. This is all gonna be. Is this John Paul Stevens again?
John Paul Stevens wrote a dissenting opinion, in which he wrote that with respect to whether or not an arrest was mandatory under Colorado law, the court should either have deferred to the 10th Circuit Court's finding that it was or else certified the question to the Colorado Supreme Court rather than decide the issue itself.
Statutory guarantee of enforcement.
He went on to write that the law created a statutory guarantee of enforcement, which is an individual benefit.
Okay, I'm gonna have to read this Roth one.
A protected
definitely seems relevant.
Under Roth, rejecting the court's use of O'Bannon v. Town Court Nursing Center to require a monetary value and the concurrence's distinction between enforcement of the restraining order and the benefit enforcement, safety, and the benefit of enforcement, safety from the violator. Legal analysis. Edit.
So I'll pause there and do a little bit of reflection to try and get myself to start thinking and learning harder. Supreme Court opinions, for as long as I've seen, have almost always aggressively dedicated themselves to just interpreting law like they're a robot. But with their purview specifically being the U.S. Constitution, the highest law of the land, what confuses me is that there are so many almost purposefully vague statements made throughout the U.S. Constitution. Maybe I should read the Constitution on the channel. I probably will at some point. there are so many vague statements on the Constitution about things like life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. I think that's in the Constitution. I might be wrong. I really need to reread it clearly. But I've read parts of the Constitution. I know that the Constitution is probably written that like the government has a responsibility to protect people, and in fact, that's the whole point of the social contract, which is mentioned down here. But Supreme Court justices, they always choose to say, "Oh, we've got lava pools; those might be useful." But we don't have any indication of a village nearby, which is what I'm going to want. There's a... Oh, that'd be pretty good. There's a freaking abandoned portal there, and there's lava pools over here. The issue is I've never been good at making... I've never even done the bucket method for making a portal before. So I don't even think we're going to go that direction with it. Oh, I'm just going to have to fall. Maybe I'll die. Yeah, okay. Nope. New world again. All right, here is legal analysis. So again, this is a Wikipedia page. It's going to include opinions. It's not going to be the direct source. It's just going to guide us as we start learning.
Pilon of the Cato Institute said that membership in a civil society, as explained by social contract theory, requires individuals to relinquish...
Now, this is an example of something I learned in public school from my own teachers of history. Social contract, right? If I give up a little bit of my freedoms, for example, if I give up my freedom to murder someone I disagree with, I'm going to gain the protection of being murdered by other people. So if I give up some freedoms, some really extreme freedoms that are probably antisocial, hypothetically, I give those up in trade for developing security, safety, and protection by the government that I give up some of those rights to. That's social contract theory. And if the police do not have an obligation to protect and serve people, then the theory doesn't exist. Well, the theory exists, but the contract is broken.
Some of the rights that they have in the state of nature, including the individual's power to enforce personal rights without assistance from the state. Pilon says the affirmative right to police protection is, therefore, derived from the natural right of self-defense, and was intended to be protected as a privilege of citizenship under the Privileges and Immunities Clause.
A privilege of citizenship
was effectively eviscerated in the slaughterhouse cases. 12.
I'm gonna have to read those.
Subsequent developments. Edit. Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. Edit. In 2011, the case came before the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, a commission composed of representatives from the members of Organization of American States. The United States is a full member by its ratification of the Charter document, which is a treaty itself, which found
a giant commission.
The state failed to act with due diligence to protect Jessica Lenahan and
her daughters.
Leslie,
she had a son,
Catherine,
though,
and
who didn't die?
Gonzales from domestic violence, which violated the state's obligation not to.
So this is going to be
discriminate and to provide for equal.
Here's how this is feeling already. It feels like any functioning legal system with a semblance of a backbone should probably be able to recognize that what the police did here was illegal. But for some reason, because the route they chose was the Supreme Court, the exact route that they took legally didn't hold up against the Supreme Court scrutiny, and therefore, fuck you, everything doesn't count. I don't know if maybe... Jesus, nothing. I don't know if I should always just hope that there's one near spawn, or if I should, like, go out a little bit. The idea that the police can have done something that you could only possibly describe as illegal, failing to respond, failing to enforce the court order, that just sounds like basic thing the cops are responsible for 101, right? Like, that is something the police, any common sense human being should think they're responsible for, even if their state has a law that legislates that they don't. I think a common sense human being in America would be like, yeah, of course the That's the whole point of a restraining order, is that it's illegal now. And so, if something happens, I don't have to shoot my husband. The police can intervene. And, whenever you call the cops and tell them, like, I'm prepared to defend myself from XY thing you're calling about, they're always like, don't do that, which is insane. Because, like, the thing you're supposed to be giving up is, like, you give up some of your freedoms and you tolerate the police because they're supposed to be there when you truly need them. And they're not. They're not there at all. So it makes sense that, like, a third-party commission of moral human beings across, your half of the globe would be like, oh, yeah, no, that was a violation. That was bad. You should have protected that person. And in fact, like, that's the whole point. And it's morally untenable that you didn't. Okay, cool. So I'm going to build up here. Okay, keep reading. This is just people's opinions on the case, I guess.
Before the law. The commission also said that the failure
to adequately
of the
organize
United
its state
States
structures to protect
adequately organize its state structure to protect the Gonzales girls from domestic violence was discriminatory and constituted a violation of their right to life.
Okay, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just try and make a boat and get around real quick.
Response. Edit. The National Organization for Women has argued
it does. It creates Supreme Court precedent for them to just ignore restraining orders completely. I mean, that's what a Supreme Court ruling tells you.
Green light to ignore restraining orders. 7. See also. Edit.
Okay, so these are some of the see alsos.
Winnebago County. Warren versus
So,
District of Columbia.
being a good learner, using Wikipedia correctly, I would like to... This is the thing that I noted the most. The decision has since become infamous and condemned by several human rights groups and is frequently cited among the worst Supreme Court decisions in modern history. That's crazy. What are the citations here? Public health reports from Washington, D.C. in 1974. Human rights ruling, the Pueblo chieftain, like Pueblo, Colorado? What is this? This is from 2011. Wayback Machine. Okay, one sec. Oh, it's just taking me down to the citations. Oops. I was hoping it would take me to each of them individually. So what are some of these? Endangers women and children on the Wayback Machine. I wonder where the original is. Public health policy. Is this it? Public health reports. Okay, so this seems like a pretty legitimate source. It's from frickin' PubMed. This is NCBI. This is a source. Castle Rock case, heartbreaking case, murder, 10 p.m. Yeah, I don't want to reread it. It's so bad. I don't know. I have a lot of very strong things I could probably say about, like, just put the mother of these kids in a room with those cops. I'm just saying, just put her in a room with, close the door, walk away. It's not your business. It's hers. Oh, this isn't a full one. I don't think. Unless this is extremely short. Failed to protect a child within the child welfare system from New York. Oh, yeah, that's the Winnebago one, which we'll read about in a sec. Oh, well, we're straight onto an NCBI article. It's pretty good. Well, I'm not going to read through this whole thing. Seems like a valid source. If they're saying that this generally has the same consensus that it was a terrible ruling, then I'm going to generally concur because I trust that source pretty well. So that was Town of Castle Rock. I feel like the next thing to read is this 42 USC 1983, the Enforcement Act of 1871. No. Yeah, okay, yeah, here it is. The Ku Klux Klan Act, which I don't know if we'll read the whole thing, because Jesus Christ, this is long. Oh, no, it's not. It's mostly citations. Jeez. Okay, we'll read this whole Wikipedia page and understand the law they used to make their legal opinion to the Supreme Court that the town of Castle Rock had done something wrong. What do you mean, group? Ungroup. Thank you. So... Sure. Let's read the Enforcement Act of 1871, which is what they use. Let's see how it describes it. They could not be sued. So the Supreme Court ruled they could not be sued using the Enforcement Act of 1871. Let's go ahead and read that and keep speedrunning poorly. See what we learn.
Act, Third Enforcement
Oh, it's
Act,
like anti-vigilantism.
1, Third Ku Klux Klan Act, 2,
Vigilantism.
Civil Rights Act of
Okay. Let's just
1871,
try
or Force
looking around
Act of
for a
1871.
looking around for a
3
freaking
is an act of the United
what do you call
States Congress that was
village.
intended to combat the
Side effect
paramilitary
of
vigilantism of the Ku
reading
Klux Klan.
academic level stuff
The act
while
made certain
speedrunning
acts
Minecraft is I
committed by
can't speak
private
words sometimes.
persons federal offenses, including
Very hard.
conspiring to deprive citizens of their rights to hold office, serve on juries.
Okay.
or
I
enjoy
did
the
not absorb that because I talked, unfortunately. That's a lot of how this is gonna go. Intended to combat paramilitary vigilantism by the Ku Klux Klan. So it was an act that was like the Ku Klux Klan is lynching people, which is vigilante justice if you're a racist, right? That's your justice if you are a racist. So that's vigilantism, is seeking justice usually through violence, independent of the state, which can be based. Shout out Luigi Mangione. The act made certain acts committed by private persons federal offenses, including conspiring to deprive citizens of their rights to hold office, serve on juries, or enjoy the equal protection of law. So this is less about violence and more about structures, actually, like civil structures and preventing people from accessing right to hold office, serve on juries. So using threats of violence likely to stop people from serving on juries, holding office, or being protected by the police. So maybe the idea of like the Ku Klux Klan working with police departments to not support people of color, likely. The act authorized the president to deploy federal troops to counter the Klan and suspend the writ of habeas corpus to make arrests without charges. Yeah, right, arrests must be made with charges, and habeas corpus is a petition is filed with the court over the custodian granted. Habeas corpus means you need a charge if you're going to be detained or in trouble with the law. Which is why, to deal with that, so many police departments have simply advocated and lobbied for the creation of really broad and stupid laws that allow them to charge anyone with anything for like any reason. That's how they coped with that outcome. Do we have a treasure chest? We do have a treasure chest with carrots and coal. Okay. I'm starting to think maybe this isn't going to be the one. I'm not seeing a village. I'm going to need a village if I want this to work. Now, when this speedrun category is legit, do the resets count? Like, does the time you spend resetting in a session count? I don't know. Maybe what counts is that it's a random seed. Like, it has to be a random seed. All right, back to reading. I need to slow this down more, maybe? No, I just need to listen harder.
The act authorized the president to deploy federal troops to counter the Klan.
Ulysses S. Grant put this forth in 1871?
To make arrests without charge. 4-5. The act
God
was
damn.
passed by the 42nd United States Congress and
How
signed
old
into law by
KKK?
President
How old is the damn
Ulysses S.
KKK?
Grant on April 20th, 1871. The act was the last
1865 during Reconstruction. Dude, they were doing shit in the 50s, the 1950s. But they're from the 1860s, and they did shit through to the 1950s. How the fuck? During the Reconstruction era to combat attacks on suffrage rights of African Americans. Suffrage, which is the right to vote. I remember what suffrage is, right? Yeah, enfranchisement is the right to vote. So suffrage is the suffering of a right to vote. I don't remember exactly.
From 1870 to 1871,
is this like
during the
an ocean temple
Reconstruction era to combat attacks upon the suffrage rights of African Americans.
What is this?
Oh
yeah, that looks interesting.
Only minor changes since then, but has been the subject of voluminous interpretation by courts.
I cannot wait to learn that, like,
this legislation was
how do I get out? I don't remember.
President Grant and passed within 1 month.
There we go. I can't remember.
Sent the request to Congress.
Yeah, like, what is this reflecty thingy? Oh, this is just an interesting looking stone.
Of the reports
yeah, I can't wait to learn that, like, I'm looking at like an abandoned
in the deep south,
something important
particularly
that
in
has a
South
special item that lets me
Carolina.
beat the game in 5 minutes, but like
He
that's not
felt
happening
that
right
he
now.
needed to have Congress delegate broader authority to the
Leave
president
me
before he could
alone, zombie.
effectively intervene. After
Water
the
zombie,
act's
stop. Or
enactment,
I just don't
the
have air. It's,
president
it's
had the
probably that.
power for the first time to both suppress state disorders on his own initiative and to suspend the
Suspend the
writ
writ
of
of habeas.
habeas
Ooh, this sounds like
corpus.
something Trump might use soon.
Grant did not hesitate to use this authority on numerous
Occasions
occasions
during his
during his
presidency.
presidency,
Where do I
and
find a
as a
village?
result the KKK was
Completely
completely
dismantled.
dismantled,
The first.
ending the first Klan era,
There were
and did
eras
not resurface
until
in
the
any
19.
meaningful
Oh, so it's
way
not that they
until
lived the
the
whole time.
beginning
It's
of
just
the
that they came
20th
back because
century.
racism never dies.
6. Several
That's
of the
insane.
Act's provisions still exist today as codified statutes. Congress delegated to the federal judiciary the authority to enforce
violations of
violations
civil
of
rights.
civil rights, with the most important of these enabling statutes being Section 1979 of the Revised Statutes, 42 U.S.C. Section 1983, entitled as Civil Action for Deprivation of Rights.
Crazy behavior from
It
my
is the
computer.
most
Why is it struggling to
widely
render
used civil
Minecraft? I
rights
clearly need.
enforcement
This is probably a
statute,
driver issue.
allowing people to sue in civil court over civil rights violations. History.
But this computer has
Edit.
plenty
Benjamin
of power
Franklin
for this.
Butler
So what's the issue?
drafted the initial version of the Third Enforcement Bill.
Yeah.
Samuel
computer doesn't care at all,
Shellbarger
so
wrote the final version
This
that
has got to be like
passed
a
and was signed
not
into
having
law.
Java drivers or something issue.
In response to political violence by the Ku Klux Klan and others
Oh
during
my
the
god, it is lagging out
Reconstruction
so bad. I
era
might have to like
following the
download Java or
American
something.
Civil War, Congress passed 3
Wow, it's
enforcement
broken.
acts giving the
What is
federal
the issue?
government broader powers to guarantee citizens' constitutional rights. The third of these acts, enacted in April 1871, gave the president the power to imprison people without a trial, known as suspending the writ of habeas corpus, and to use the federal military
lower
on
FPS.
domestic soil to
I'm saying
enforce constitutional
doesn't look
rights,
good, but
among other measures.
I can see what I'm playing at least.
7. In January
Alright, let's try another
1871,
world.
Republican Senator John Scott of Pennsylvania convened a congressional committee to hear testimony from witnesses of Klan atrocities.
So, okay, wait. The thing I'm not processing is what does this have to do with their lawsuit? Refusing to enforce a restraining order. Wait. The argument they made is that paramilitary vigilantism, removing a person from their rights, hold office, serve on juries, equal protection of the law. She made an argument, their lawyers made an argument, that like the Ku Klux Klan, the police department had acted rather consciously to not afford her equal protections under the law by not protecting her equally under the law. The officers that did it, I imagine. Okay, so I am now seeing the connection between this act and the argument that they likely are going to make as I read the Supreme Court opinion document. Yeah, I know that there's a driver issue with Java because I should be getting like a billion FPS or something with this CPU. So whatever. I could always just whenever I get tired of stream, I'll go back to it, or I might get done today. Like I feel like this will only be like 3 or 4 hours. There's no way I don't think there's any way I'll beat Minecraft in that time personally. So it might be a cheap way to get up high. I'm just gonna climb that river real quick and look around, see if I can see a village. I just don't know. Do villages even happen within a certain distance of spawn? So like am I just never gonna see them from within spawn? Okay, that's gonna be kind of hard to climb out. All right, let's keep reading. I don't really need the full history of the act. I understand how they're gonna use it now, but we'll see.
In February, Republican Congressman Benjamin Franklin Butler of Massachusetts introduced his
How many Ben Franklins have we got?
bill, intended to enforce both the 14th Amendment and the Civil Rights Act of 1866.
Oh, okay.
Butler's bill was narrowly
Climb.
defeated in the House, whereupon Republican
So, okay, I can learn at least about the history of how this has been used before, and maybe understand the argument they tried to make.
only slightly less
It's interesting that
than
they would need
Butler's
to use an
original.
act to make
This
their
bill
argument.
brought a few
The fact that there
holdout
isn't any
Republicans
other
into
existing
line,
laws they
and
could
the
use
bill
where they're
narrowly
like,
passed
hey,
the House, sailed through
not
the
enforcing a
Senate,
restraining
and was
order,
signed into law
it should be
on
illegal
April
for police
20th by
departments.
President Grant.
They're like, there wasn't any other legislation they could use. Wow, this world spawn
After
makes it
the
very
Civil
easy
War,
to
President
get up.
Ulysses S. Grant conducted an aggressive, and ultimately successful, campaign against the Ku Klux Klan
No
and its
villages.
offshoots,
Man,
such
Ulysses
as the Knights
S.
of the
Grant?
White Camellia, from the
This isn't the dude that
1860s
fought in
to
the Civil War, is it?
1870s.
No, it has to be, right?
Grant deployed federal soldiers to arrest Klan members, enlisted U.S. attorneys to
Homeboy
try
like
their
fought the Klan.
cases,
Just kind of based.
supported congressional legislation like the Ku Klux Klan Act, and organized
Oh
federal
wow,
judges
Minecraft
to
is not happy.
oversee
I clearly
Klan
need to download
trials.
some new drivers.
9. Under the Klan Act during Reconstruction, federal troops, rather than state militias, were used to enforce
Okay.
the law. And
Well, I don't see anything
Klansmen
over
were
there. I'm just
prosecuted
gonna
in
have to
federal
round the
court,
mountain and see if
where
I see anything in this
juries were
direction.
sometimes predominantly black. Hundreds of Klan members were fined or imprisoned, and habeas corpus was suspended in 9 counties in South Carolina. These efforts were so successful that the Klan was destroyed in South Carolina and decimated throughout the rest of the former Confederacy, where it had already been
Let's keep
in
looking.
decline
I wonder
for
if
several
there's something I
years.
don't know about how
The
often
Klan was not to exist
those
again
things spawn.
until its renewal in 1950.
Let's close Minecraft.
During its brief
and
existence,
maybe
however, the
download
first
some
era
Java drivers real
Klan
quick.
did achieve many of its goals in the South, such as denying
Because I feel like that might be the issue.
voting rights to Southern blacks. 8. In its early history, under the Grant administration,
I don't know if Java's
this
going to require a
act was
computer
used,
restart.
along with the Force Act,
I really hope it
to
doesn't.
bring to justice those who were violating the civil rights of newly freed African Americans. After the end of the Grant administration, and the dismantling of Reconstruction under Rutherford B. Hayes, enforcement of the act
I've heard
fell
that
into
name.
misuse, and
That's a
few
high school in
cases
Ohio.
were brought under the statute for almost 100 years.
Yeah, CPU seems fine.
Used during and after presidency of Donald Trump. Edit.
Out of date Java. Yeah, uninstall the old one. Do that.
2020, the NAACP along with the Michigan Welfare Edit. After the Civil War, President Ulysses S. Grant conducted an aggressive, and ultimately successful, campaign against the Ku
wow.
Klux
Okay, Trump
Klan
would
and
totally
its
use this act.
offshoots, such
I totally believe that.
December
I totally believe that Trump would use this act. I can't believe I guessed that. Yeah, maybe I do understand politics. All right. Let's open up Minecraft again and see if we can get this to play more nicely for me. My graphics drivers should be very much up to date. I know that. All my other drivers should be good too. I don't know what I'd be missing right now. Let's try this again. Let's see if that made a difference. Wow, of course he would totally use, the Trump would totally use this act. Used during and after president. During and after. Is this going to include Trump using it and then it being used against the January 6ers? Is that what I'm expecting right now? Because I could totally see Trump using this to be like, you know, I'm going to take over Chicago because of vigilantism, because of the radical left. But I can also see it being used against the January 6ers, which that contradiction does not escape me. It makes perfect sense. That's his whole thing. is that exact kind of contradiction. All right, let's listen. I don't really need to understand much more for the case, but I'm curious now, so I'll probably stop after
the Michigan
this section.
Welfare Rights Organization and a group of Detroit voters sued U.S. President Donald Trump along with his presidential campaign and the Republican National Committee under the Act,
2020.
as well as the Voting Rights
So
Act.
he got voted out in November.
11,
Biden
12.
takes office in January of 2020 or January of 2019. I can't remember.
President Trump and the Republican Party coordinated conspiracy to disenfranchise black voters through legal actions intended to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election in Michigan.
Oh, I do have VSync on. That might be part of this.
Georgia and Pennsylvania via intimidation and coercion of election officials and volunteers.
Still kind of acting like it has VSync on. 20 FPS, you're kidding me?
In February 2021,
60.
the NAACP
Now we're getting up to
and
60
law
locked,
firm
kind of.
Milstein filed another lawsuit.
What about the issues? Oh,
invoking
no,
the
it's still
act
hitching
on
every time it
behalf
loads
of
something big.
US
Oh, they got Sakura trees over there?
Benny Thompson, 13 other congresspersons
Wait, so what
were
happened
to
here?
join the litigation.
Was this because of all the right-wing people who were like trying to invalidate the legitimacy of like actual voting cards by black people in certain parts of the country? According to a conspiracy to disenfranchise black voters, so legal actions intended to overturn. Oh yeah, this shit. I remember this. Filed against Prompt, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers. What is the outcome? Conspired to attack the Capitol under the same DC bias-related crimes act. Sued Trump allies alleging the defendants sued President Trump. According to the lawsuit, President Trump and the party coordinated conspiracy. Okay, but there's something I'm not getting is what is the outcome of this? The verdict marks the first time in modern era that a jury has found a defendant liable under the Supporter Advocacy Clause of the 1871. Huh. I'm not seeing the outcome of this case. Interesting. All right, well, I feel like we've learned enough of this act to understand its context. So, reinforcing, the Castle Rock versus Gonzales, it sounds like Gonzales, the mother, got a lawyer. So, full case name, Town of Castle Rock, Colorado petitioner versus Jessica Gonzales, individually and as next of kin of her deceased minor children, Rebecca, Catherine, and Leslie. Jesus Christ. So, mom representing herself and her family, her kid that were murdered, due to the failure of the state to protect her in like the most basic way possible. So that happened that way. All right, I've downloaded Java and Minecraft has not gotten faster. That is an unfortunate outcome, certainly. But that's the full context of the case. March, April, May, June. They only decided it 3 months later? Wow. So her lawyers or whatever chose the route of saying the police deprived her of her right to equal protection by the law, by the police. Now, a similar ruling was made. So this court was decided no, the police have no obligation to protect. A similar ruling was made in DeShaney versus Winnebago, which we are now going to read about. That Supreme Court case. Sounds like it's about an abusive father, unfortunately. Very fucked up.
The Supreme Court of the United States on February 22,
1989, DeShaney versus Winnebago County.
The court held that a state government agency's
failure to prevent
child abuse by a custodial parent does not violate...
Wow, holy shit. They are arguing... Oh, Minecraft looks smooth now, but probably because it's already loaded everything. Is that ice over there? Okay, Minecraft does suddenly look very smooth. What happened? Seems good. It is still unfortunately acting like it's set to VSync right now, and it is not set to VSync. At least I should have turned it off. VSync off, VSync on. Max frame rate, max it. I don't care. Wait, so what if I set the max frame rate to 30? Does it lock to 30? Ugh. I don't know what's wrong with this computer right now. VSync on, sure. And then max frame rate, you know, fucking whatever I can get from it. Should have tested the game harder. Well, this actually looks great and smooth right now, and the render distance looks the way I would expect it to. I am not seeing anything akin to a village. It does hitch though. The game hitches really hard every time it tries to load something. It's really annoying. If I had a graph of the frame pacing, it would be very bad because it keeps hitching in an annoying way. All right, so this is the kind of precedent case that came before Castle Rock versus Gonzales.
Right to liberty for the purposes of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution.
Got to reread the 14th then. I'm going to have to reread it. It's just how it is. All persons born or naturalized, subject to jurisdiction thereof, citizens of the United States, wherein they reside, no state shall make or enforce any law which celebrates the privileges or immunities of citizens, nor shall any state provide any person of life, liberty, or property without due process, nor deny any persons within its jurisdiction the equal protections of the law. So this is Equal Protections Clause. I've read that many times. It's also the thing that Trump is actively violating by not giving immigrants due process. Immigrants born here due process, because they are born. Right? It's all persons born or naturalized. Yep. So the court held that a state government agency's failure to prevent child abuse. So a state government knows that a father is about to abuse their child. They've gathered evidence. They probably have a pre-existing case. They know it's happening. They consciously choose not to prevent the child abuse. I imagine the kid either got hurt or killed. Failing to intervene in child abuse does not violate a child's right to freedom from abuse, because abuse is not a violation of freedom according to the United States, I guess. Well, that sounds awful. Hate that.
Constitution. The Supreme Court held that the Constitution does not impose an affirmative duty on local or state
to protect individuals from harm caused by private parties.
Caused by private parties unless the individual has a special relationship to the state, which usually involves the state apprehending the person against their will or otherwise being the source of harm. 1. 2. The case is particularly famous for Justice Harry Blackmun's Poor Joshua, Lamentation.
Interesting.
Contrary to popular misconception,
doesn't involve the police at all.
Does not involve the
Child
police.
Services, probably. Yep.
Rather,
I thought it would be
it is
Child
about
Protective Services, so
Child
they
Protective
failed.
Services,
Department of
called
Social
the
Services in
Department
most
of
states.
Social Services in the case, failing to protect an abused child from a violent parent despite knowing.
So it doesn't say anything about the cops. It says about a
3,
different
16
arm
years
of the U.S.
later,
government that
in
just
Town
happens to not be
Castle
police.
Rock versus Gonzales,
Okay, so the court reaffirmed.
the court reaffirmed, holding that a mother could not sue a local government under Section 1983 for police failure to investigate or enforce a restraining order, even
So they're going to end up
three
citing this
children who
existing
were
case.
reported missing were subsequently killed by their father. Background. Edit. In 1980.
Okay, that is heavy and interesting. Again, no village. You know what's crazy? I've played Minecraft on my own many times, and I found villages right near spawn. That's a village. Okay, let's head back down. I need to remember the direction. It is this way. Let me look at this. Okay, maybe we have a run. Maybe we have a run, gamers. This is the first time I've seen a village the whole time, and we are an hour in. Great. I'm going to have to actually, kind of start playing seriously instead of just reloading things and hoping for a village. Let me see something real quick. I can make this a lot faster if I just do this correctly. There we go. I have made a wooden axe. All right, let's get down. So, contrary to popular misconception, does not involve police. Rather, it is about Child Protective Services, which is still an arm of the government. They still have to follow the Constitution. It could be police, it could be CPS, it could be a social worker who works for the state. It could be a lawyer, I guess, like a public defendant or whatever. Doesn't matter if it's an arm of the state that has this responsibility. It shouldn't matter. It likely applies to cops though. 16 years later, the court reaffirmed their decision. Again, that a government agency's failure to prevent child abuse by a parent does not violate the child's right to freedom. What? I cannot comprehend the idea of the founding fathers being like, you know, obviously the definitions of child abuse and the culture of child abuse have changed over time. And you know, how parents laud their power and hierarchy over children has changed over time. Is there a lava pool over there? Or is that just, it'd be crazy to have a village and a lava pool finally. I don't know. This is evil. This is an evil ruling. I cannot imagine a well-intending leader agreeing with this ruling and intending it.
Custody of Joshua DeShaney, born in 1979, to his father, Randy DeShaney, who moved to Neenah, Winnebago County, Wisconsin. A police report of child abuse and a hospital visit in January 1983
Child abuse leading to a hospital visit.
County Department of Social Services, DSS, to obtain a court order to keep the boy in the hospital's custody. 3 days later, on the recommendation of a child protection team consisting of a pediatrician, a psychologist,
psychologist,
a police detective,
in the 80s, wow,
the county's lawyer, several DSS caseworkers, and various hospital personnel, the juvenile court dismissed the case and returned the boy to
all of those people were like, yeah, dad's trustworthy. What?
4.
After being beaten, brought to the hospital? How did every single one of those adults fail?
Agreement with the boy's father, and
an agreement
throughout 1983. A DSS
5 times
social worker
every couple months
the DeShaney home and recorded
suspicion
of child abuse and that the father was not complying with the agreement's
what?
terms.
That many adults failed this kid?
No action was taken. The DSS also took no action to remove the boy from his father's custody after a hospital reported child abuse suspicions to
So
it in November
the Department of like Children's
1983.
Services just completely airballed.
Visits in January
But like,
and March
this has to be a systemic issue. This
1984,
cannot just be.
at which the worker was told Joshua was too ill to see her, also resulted in no action.
Man,
After the March 1984 visit,
he was
Randy
4,
DeShaney beat 4-year-old
and all of those adults saw what was happening and never took action?
Randy DeShaney beat 4-year-old
I'm sure people were doing
Joshua
shit,
so
but no one took
severely
the
that he
action.
fell into a life-threatening coma. Emergency brain surgery revealed a series of hemorrhages